Welcome to the She Speaks to Inspire podcast. I'm your host, Julia Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. She Speaks to Inspire is an empowering public speaking podcast for women with public speaking fear. Unlike other podcasts on public speaking, She Speaks to Inspire not only gives you tips to be a confident communicator under pressure, but also helps you regulate your nervous system for less anxiety, learn lifestyle practices to reduce burnout and overwhelm, and reconnect with your feminine leadership presence for more authenticity and comfort in your skin. I believe it's the quiet ones, especially the quiet women, who have the most important ideas. I believe the world really does need your voice. So let's dive in. A lot of women will tell me that they get stuck. It's like the words that they have in their mind that they know are there, they can't get them out of their mouth the way that they really want to. Do you relate to this? I've seen women stumble and struggle and get stuck, ramble and circle, always struggling to find their flow. It's very frustrating. It can leave you feeling like there's something wrong with you and you can't trust yourself to be able to speak naturally. These women that I've talked to, they're fine speaking in social environments with friends. They're not stumbling over their words there. Even in smaller meetings with colleagues that they're very comfortable with, they're not stumbling there. So why? Why are we stumbling when the stakes are higher? Maybe you've experienced this. You're just getting started with your speaking and you're trying to find your way. And it's like each word is a false start. You get asked a question out of the blue, something you weren't expecting. And you know that you know the answer. It's so simple. But for some reason, your mind can't work in that moment. It's like the words won't come to you. You're stuck. Maybe the opposite side of the spectrum, but really same problem, is that you're asked a question and you know the answer, but you keep circling around the answer because you're trying to find your way to exactly what you mean to say. That rambling, circling communication where someone who's listening starts to wonder, what is it that she means, right? They can't quite understand your point. In fact, someone might say to you, get to the point. And you might think that that's really rude. I totally understand, but your audience is just trying to understand what you're saying. And then, of course, either during or after this happening to you, you're beating yourself up, right? Lots of self-criticism, lots of self-judgment. Afterwards, you might be thinking of yourselves as a bad speaker. Label yourself as a bad speaker. You might start to avoid speaking opportunities or avoid situations where you might be asked a question out of the blue because you know this happens to you and you want to avoid it. It's embarrassing. First of all, I want to say that this happens to the best of us, and it also happens to a lot more people than you might think. I say that because a lot of women will tell me that they're feeling like they're stumbling and they're stuck and they're rambling and they're circling. And then if you ask the people that have been in their audience, or maybe if I see a video of them speaking, sometimes you can't even tell from the outside. You can't even tell that they're stumbling or stuck. Sometimes you as the speaker blow things out of proportion or don't have an accurate perception of how you're being perceived from the outside. So it's very common for especially introverted women with a history of anxiety to feel like they're stumbling and stuck, even if nobody has commented on it or noticed it in you. let's talk about why that happens to you, whether it's being perceived from the outside or not. You end up stumbling and stuck on your words because, drum roll, you are out of rhythm with yourself. Fundamentally, that's what's happening. Out of rhythm with yourself. What does that mean, to be in rhythm with yourself? Well, there's a very complex process happening when we're trying to communicate. This is how I would track it. That there's an initial impulse deep in your guts, an impulse to communicate and express, to share something outwardly. If you didn't have that impulse or that desire, you wouldn't be speaking. There's an initial impulse. And I always say that the impulse itself is completely benign or innocent. It's pure. As that impulse starts to move up through your system, through your body, towards the mechanism of speaking, which is your mouth, your lips, your tongue, your breathing, right? So it moves up through your system, gets connected with the physical mechanism of speaking, and starts to materialize into a physical expression that then would impact others. That's where things get tricky. Because we have our mind, our monkey mind, that comes in and a lot of times sabotages that very pure, innocent impulse. The mind comes in and criticizes that impulse, and so it gets censored. The mind comes in and second guesses and doubts, so the impulse gets censored. As our mind interrupts the flow of the impulse to communicate, we can get out of rhythm with ourselves. Being in rhythm with yourself is an experience of flow. You have an impulse, it gets formed into communication. Impulse formed into communication. It's a flowing, natural process that it feels like it's all in alignment. We know what it feels like to be around someone that's in that flow state. It's very relaxing. Do you yourself know what it feels like to be in that state, where it feels like the impulse to express and the expression itself are flowing in the right order, in the right time? When we're out of rhythm with ourselves, that looks like I have an impulse to communicate. I have a thought that comes in that censors what I feel like saying, second guesses it, doubts it. And so I might have gone through 5 or 6 different variations of what I would say before it actually comes out of my mouth. But then there's also the pressure that my mind is putting on me, these high standards, to get it out as fast as possible. Get it out of your mouth as fast as possible. They're waiting for you. You know what I'm talking about? So as we are out of rhythm with ourselves, we're making it so that we need more time to sort through all these options, and at the same time rushing ourselves to get it out as fast as possible. This creates backlog, just like a computer processing system that's overwhelmed and needs to restart in order to work properly. That's you in a moment when you are stumbling. On a core level, on a primal level, this is your nervous system upregulated. So what I mean by that is we can downregulate our nervous system into parasympathetic response where there's more calm and ease and safety. Or our nervous system can upregulate into a feeling of I'm not safe. I need to take action to ensure my safety. I need to adrenalize this situation in order to survive. When the nervous system is upregulated, energy, blood flow, hormones all go away from critical thinking. We're in survival mode. So all your energy and blood flow is going to go towards the big muscle groups like the thighs, the biceps, the heart, the lungs, to have the energy to fight, run away, and basically conserve energy for as long as possible until there is a safe environment. As you can imagine, when you're in that state, there's nothing left for critical thinking, for rationalized thinking, for creative thinking, for connection. Absolutely not. There's no energy left. So when your nervous system is upregulated, it's going to be much more likely, much more easy for you to be out of rhythm with yourself, for your monkey mind to be spiraling. You hear me talk about the nervous system all the time. The more you can get to know the triggers for your nervous system and what it feels like to be upregulated in your nervous system versus downregulated, you can start to make choices about how you relate to your symptoms in the moment and create a trusting relationship with yourself that you and your nervous system can work together to come back to balance. The last big reason that you might be stumbling and stuck with your words is that part of your monkey mind's process is that there's a thought pattern of, I need to make sure everyone likes what I'm saying. I need to make sure everyone's comfortable. I need to make sure I'm approved of, those kind of things. And so that's a mindset of needing to please others. Pleasing others has nothing to do with your initial impulse to communicate. Does that make sense? Our initial impulse, like I said, is innocent. It's pure. It's simply from our own desire to share something. Whether it pleases others or not, it came from your inner experience. But so often, especially women, will have conditioning where they need to take care of the situation and make it comfortable for others. I need to be appropriate. I need to be nice. I need to be polite. These kind of conditioning. And so along the way, as your impulse is rising up and getting ready to be expressed, there's a thought that trickles down. Is anyone going to be upset about this? Is this going to hurt anybody's feelings? What are they going to think about this? What are they going to think of me? How is this going to impact others? And a cascade of thoughts, right? And so there's layers and layers of censorship, discernment to the point of overly considering the outer impact. That means that you can't go as fast with your speaking as you'd like to, or you can't go as fast with your speaking as you think they expect you to. It's a catch-22 because in this censorship, it will take you longer to find your thoughts. There's a lot of sorting to do. In this censorship as well, in this conditioning, you're telling yourself you're not going fast enough because people are waiting on you. Oh, it's a catch-22 for sure. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's the worst. Okay, so now you understand why it's happening. What are you going to do about it, right? How are you going to stop stumbling? How are you going to avoid getting stuck and rambling and circling around your thoughts? There's a lot to that. It's not a quick fix, I'd say. But there's two really important pieces that often get lost in the world of public speaking coaching. You've heard me many times say that scripting is not the answer. Having everything written out in a script might keep you from doing filler words simply because you're reading the script, but it won't make you an inspiring and impactful speaker and leader. So how do we avoid stumbling and getting stuck while still being effective, right? There's two big pieces. First of all, move yourself more and more towards embracing the art of improvisation, which is the art of impromptu speaking. That you don't know what you're going to say, that you're going to find it in the moment, and that you have the positive expectation that you will find the right words in the right moment and it will be okay. That positive expectation, whether it's true or not, tends to bring positive results because it opens your mind to possibilities, keeps you in the present moment, and it signals your nervous system that there's more safety simply by choosing that thought. So choosing the art of improvisation over scripting or over preparing in any way is the first step to avoiding stumbling and avoiding getting stuck on your words. Then once you get into that mindset, you can start to learn improv structures. Now, the structure of an improvisation is really important. It can be really difficult to improvise if you don't know what you're doing or why or for what purpose. It's just too broad. As soon as you give yourself structure, improvisation starts to flow. It may seem counterintuitive that in order to flow, you need a container, but it's totally true. There are so many options for improv structures. Some of the basics are things like the content formula, before, during, and after, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. beginning, middle, and end, problem, cause, solution, introduction, body, and conclusion. I could keep going and going. There's so many structures that you can start to learn and master and get comfortable with that can work for any piece of content. So once you've embraced the mindset of improv, once you've learned and mastered the structures of improv, then don't forget to regulate your nervous system along the way as you're doing these things. That really is the most important thing. Because even if you are improvising more and using structures, you're not going to be successful unless you're able to down-regulate your nervous system to the point where you can think clearly, where you can think creatively, even when a bunch of people are looking at you, right, and expecting something. So that's where a speaker's warm-up comes in. Think of any professional performer, whether it's an actress on Broadway or Andrea Bocelli that's backstage before he goes on to sing, a professional violinist. If you go backstage a half an hour to an hour before their performance and you see what they're doing during that time, I promise you, they are not looking over the script. They're not looking at their sheet music and trying to study it. They're not brushing up on their lines or relearning the lyrics. No. What are they doing during that time? They are warming up their body, their physical voice, and their mindset. I know because I was in acting school, if you go backstage before a Broadway performance and you see the actors and actresses backstage, you're going to see them rolling around on the floor, doing stretches, making sounds, doing all kinds of silly exercises, playing improv games together. If you go backstage before an opera singer goes on stage, they're going to be doing slides and scales and breathing exercises and shaking out their body, all these kind of things. A violinist is going to be warming up their bow arm and trilling their fingers and practicing scales. They're doing all the warm-up and preparation for their body, mind, emotions, nervous system, all of it, before they go on to the stage and the curtain goes up. Now ask yourself, what am I doing before an important meeting or presentation? What I often hear that women are doing is that they are staring at their PowerPoint presentation and making little adjustments. They are reading over their script for the 20th time. They are reading through their notes for the 20th time. Maybe they get some water. Maybe they take a few deep breaths. Those things are good. And then you're probably just going into the meeting hoping it'll go well. If you have a history of nerves and anxiety, a history of stumbling, getting stuck on your words, most likely that hope and pray method is not going to get you to a new and different result. It will get you through that speaking opportunity. It would help you survive it, but not thrive in it. A speaker's warm-up routine will give you the opportunity to get yourself ready, to organize yourself on all levels, to be at your best and to be as ready as you could be for this improvisational opportunity. You never know how it's going to go. And the more your nervous system gets the message that you're ready, you can handle this, you feel safe within yourself, then you will be much more likely to be in rhythm with yourself. Less pressure, less focus outwards on pleasing others, less speeding through, and more a sense of trusting your improvisational flow. I hope this is a helpful mindset shift about what really matters for your speaking to improve. We're not looking for perfectionism. We're not looking for every word to be perfect as you had prepared it. What I'm looking for in you is that you start to be comfortable in your own skin, find your authentic confidence that you can rely on every time, and the nervous habits that have been making you anxious for a long time start to naturally dissolve as you downregulate your nervous system and learn to feel safe within yourself. Thanks for listening. This has been She Speaks to Inspire with Julia Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. I'm so glad you joined me. And I hope you got so much out of this episode. If you want to learn more about Speak to Inspire training programs and get inspired, head over to speaktoinspire.com or follow us on Instagram at She Speaks to Inspire. Never forget, the world needs your voice, and it's time for you to speak to inspire.
see you on the next episode.